What would happen if all the housing prices dropped? It would cause financial problems. Home loans valued at 500,000 and loans are now supported with 100,000 worth of actual value. Banks would lose a tremendous amount of money. 2008. If you were waiting for a meaningful price drop, you will be blue in the face. There's not enough inventory of existing homes for prices to drop. They are not building enough new homes to make an impact. The new homes they build are priced to compete in the existing market, so they do not add downward pressure. Existing owners do not want the value to go down because many of them would end up owing more on their mortgages than the house is worth. That's what's realistic, not what you think the value of a house should be. Investors would swoop in, buy them all up, then raise prices because there's no limit on how many houses a person or a corporation can own. This would be catastrophic for lower-income homeowners who, without home equity to borrow against, could lose their homes due to things like the roof or heater going bad. You would end up with a lot of people stuck in homes they bought when prices were high. The drop from 500k to 300k is a 40% reduction in price. Even assuming an 80 LTV mortgage, that would still leave a homeowner with a house that they literally can't sell and not be negative arrears by 100k, assuming the purchase went through like a day before the house prices collapsed. If my home were to go through that same reduction now, it would take nearly an additional 4 years of mortgage repayments, assuming they are fixed at their current rate, on top of the 3 years I've already paid, for me to even pay back the bank for the loan. Never mind sell with enough capital left over to buy a new home. The dropping of house prices always sounds good in theory for those trying to get on the ladder. Trust me, I know, I was desperate for prices to drop when I was buying, but in practice would leave an awful lot of people up shit creek without a paddle. Oh, and also the economy would be fucked due to all the defaulted loans, but that's neither here nor there. Like the 500k is now 300k, which is the price it should have been. Would anybody sell anymore? Should have been? As determined by who? The price is whatever people will pay for the thing. There is a negative side effect I haven't seen anyone discuss here yet: loss of equity. One benefit to most homeowners is it is an available fund of cash for use in the event of an emergency. Have a health event? Lose your job in an economic downturn? Need a new roof and don't have the cash or credit to replace it? This is where your home equity comes into play and historically has been a ripcord for homeowners. Homes rapidly losing value, like in 2007-2010, lose that safety net and increase likelihood of owners just walking away from their mortgages. This heightens default rates. It would break the economy. The problem is not that prices are too high, it's that we don't have enough houses. Prices crashing doesn't change that. All it would do is make it easy for private capital to buy up even more of the housing stock for rent. You think if houses crash we'd benefit? No, financial companies would buy everything at rock bottom prices. Don't wish for a crash. Disasters are great for capitalists. Fight for building more houses. You just want the interest rates to drop, not the house prices themselves that would be bad. 2008 levels bad. The same thing that happened in 2008-2009 when the crash happened. All of a sudden, one page of legal notices for bank default auctions would jump to 3-4 full pages or more. People's high mortgages would go underwater and their borrowing power would disappear. This is what happened to me when I bought at the last price inflation in 2003. By 2008 I owed significantly more on my mortgage vs the valuation of my home. Many of those people paying interest-only loans defaulted when the balloon payments came due. If prices or interest rates for that matter dropped even a little bit, there are so many people waiting on the sidelines to pounce that they'd just go back up. I still wouldn't be able to afford a house. Many homeowners would be completely underwater. Banks would lose millions or billions as their loans are now worth far less than what they gave out originally. Companies would be buying up even more houses as they wait for the values to rise again. Mass devaluation would throw us into a recession. Massive foreclosures. Most people who bought a house at say 350k that discovered their house was only worth 250k would be underwater and walk away. Since housing is so cheap, they could rent something for far less than their mortgage payments. Remember, banks need mortgage payments. They typically have anywhere from 3x-7x the amount of cash lent out at any given time. Without mortgage debts being serviced, they can't service their own. Banks would collapse overnight. It's economic apocalypse. I don't think housing prices go down, really. They stagnate generally. It becomes difficult to sell a home. In Canada, our housing market has almost broken. Prices haven't dropped, but interest rates have skyrocketed. People who got variable rate mortgages are being forced to dump their houses, and people aren't willing to jump into a fixed rate mortgage at these prices. The prices are already realistic since people are willing to pay for them. Your expectations of that you want to pay less is probably what is not realistic. And you should look at if you're earning or matching what you expect your lifestyle to be. Pension funds invest in mortgage companies, and major part of the economy is tied up in stability of investments, where mortgage companies is a part, not the only part. And if prices were to start to become unstable, so would the economy, and people will start losing jobs, making it even harder for many people to afford housing. Rich hedge fund guys would unironically cry about life not being fair. End of the world. The economy is based on things going one direction. Constant new debt is created to cover the interest of old loans. If things stop going constantly up, then the whole economy collapses. I think it is dependent on supply and demand, and federal government trying to use the resources at their disposal, interest rates, printing money, job creation, etc. to keep the inflation around 2. Also, rates falling from 500k to 300k over a period of 6 months causes lot of economic turmoil and confusion. Rates falling from 500k to 300k over a period of 5 to 10 years may not cause that much turmoil.